I think we're ready to get started. Want to thank you for being with us today on such short notice, but we are working on a pretty tight timeline to get our application and collect the information we need, and then also get information to you, school districts that we may need data for, or we do need data for, in order to provide the extended benefits for those families that are eligible. So I'm Sharon Davis. I'm the administrator for the nutrition services, and we oversee the school lunch child nutrition programs with FNS and USDA. And also with me is Melissa Wire, who works with the Department of Health and Human Services and administrates SNAP programs. So welcome, and thank you again for being here, and I'll let Melissa get us started.
Okay. All right. So, oh, you want to go to the next slide? Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't, hopefully this shouldn't take up too much of your time, but we just want to go over what the purpose of this meeting is, an overview of P-EBT, and then what the data requirements and collection are going to be on your end in order to get the P-EBT benefits issued out to folks. So thank you for joining us. And again, I echo what Sharon said. I know this was a very short notice and this is all moving very fast. So we appreciate you being willing to work with us as we move forward with this. Okay, so the purpose, we have received approval from the governor's office to submit our P-EBT amendment to FNS. FNS is the authority that has to give us the official authorization to provide these benefits. That request, with the help of you guys, we need a little bit, some data from you guys to send that forward to them. And then once we get approval for them, we can go ahead and get benefits issued. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be approved, but I just wanted to be clear that's what the actual approval process is right now. So we will be giving you information related to the data collection that we will need, instructions for submitting that data to us, and then we will answer any questions that you have, because I'm sure that there will be plenty. Okay, so the P-EBT extension, FNS allowed states to extend the P-EBT program through August and September for the 2020-2021 school year. But it has a little bit different requirements than what we were doing for the last school year in March, April, and May. So eligible families are eligible for the benefits for the days that they are out of school, doing virtual learning, or not in school at all, depending on the situation, with meals unavailable to them, or that the families are unable to access those meals at the school. The kicker for this is we have to have everything done by September 30th. That means benefits have to be out the door, issued by September 30th. So we have a very short time frame to do this. And in order to meet that short time frame, we're going to ask that the schools provide us some data so that we can issue the benefits directly to those families. So we're taking out the application period like we had previously. We're just going to take the information from the schools and then use that to go ahead and get the benefits issued out to the family, and take all of that extra work that the families need to do out. Okay, so the eligibility for P-EBT for this extension is a little bit different. It's dependent on a couple things. The school must be one of the qualifying statuses, which we'll go over in I think the next couple of slides. And the child must be eligible for the free and reduced lunch program in the 2020-2021 school year. That's really hard to say, by the way. So it's still dependent on their free and reduced lunch status, but then now they also have to be, the school has to be in a qualifying status. And then those children have to be out of school or participating in virtual learning for at least 5 consecutive days. That's the same as it was previously. And then for those 5 consecutive days or longer, If they do not have access to meals provided through the schools, then they would also be eligible. So it's kind of twofold. First, there have to be either no meals available to them, or if there are meals available to them, they are not able to access those meals. Now, we realize that this could be different, and this is why we need to do this on the individual school level, because schools are doing things differently, and then within that, families are also doing things differently. So it could be different for different students in the same school, even depending on what their situation is. Okay, so here are the 3 qualifying statuses for the school. The first one is when you started school year regularly in person, but then had to close and there's no meal service provided. Of course, that closure would have to be for 5 consecutive days. And when we say closure, that can mean instruction is virtual or temporarily suspended. That's kind of, closure is kind of an overall term that buckets both of those in there. The second scenario is when the school is entirely virtual without meal services, and it has been closed for 5 consecutive days. Then the last one is a hybrid model, which I believe a lot of our schools are going to fit into, is this hybrid model where we've got a combination of some students that are in-person learning and some that are doing the virtual instruction. So for the hybrid model, those virtual students, it's related to their meals. If they have no meals available to them, or they're not able to pick up or receive their meals, then that would qualify them. In-person students are not eligible because they have meals available to them.
And if I could, Melissa,
Yeah.
I'll just interject a little bit. Based on the survey that we sent out, there were a lot of schools that said, they were offering meals, and I think several of you were in that category where you were offering meals, but maybe the students were so far away. They're 30 miles away. They're too rural of a community for the school to deliver the meals, or for them to drive in and pick up the meals. And so those students would fit in that virtual category that we're talking about here. And so why, part of your reason why you were invited today.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so then the data requirements that we need, we're going to need the list of the students without access to meals. So essentially, and I should clarify, yeah, the list, free and reduced students. So we're only talking about those students that are eligible for the free and reduced lunch program without access to meals. Then we're going to need the number of days that the school closure, and when we say school closure, again, that means they could be virtual as well, without meal service. And then we'll need some household information, which includes the parent guardian information, like first and last name, address, last 4 digits of social security number, date of birth, and then the student information. Now, one thing that I do want to clarify on the parent guardian information, we're asking this information, and we need this information in order to issue them their P-EBT card, the card that the benefits will go on. In order to, once they receive that card, in order to activate that card, they have to input 2 verifying factors in order to set up a PIN and activate that card. Those factors are zip code and either the last 4 digits of their social security number or their date of birth. So we don't need both social security number and date of birth. It's kind of an either or thing. So, because we know that there are many families and parents that may not have a social security number. So if we can then get a date of birth for them, then we can use the date of birth and the zip code instead of the social security number and the zip code. And I think Sharon's going to pull up the spreadsheet that we have put together. And this will be provided to everyone. So, and it's got exactly what we'll need. We've got parent guardian first name, parent guardian last name, their date of birth, their social security number. Now we really only need the last 4 digits of their social security number. So you can just go ahead and enter their social security number as 99999 and then the last 4 digits, because that's how we'll send the file over to have the card issued out to them. And then the language, English or Spanish, is for the parent, because if they are Spanish speaking, we will send information with the card in Spanish to them. If you don't know that, I mean, that's okay too. We'll default everything to English if we don't know. Then we've got address information. The phone number and email address are highlighted in red because those are optional. It would be helpful for us to have if we had any questions or needed to reach out to them. But if that's not information that you guys have or is not readily available, that's okay. We can send the file without that information. Then it moves on to the student information. So we've got the student's name, first name, last name, the student's date of birth, the NDE student ID, the school name, school district name, and then the number of consecutive days out of school. If you guys can provide us the number of consecutive days out of school, then we will determine the benefit amount based off of the days out of school. And I should tell you, it's $5.86 per day is what the reimbursement rate is going to be. So that is for 25 days, that's going to be about $147 per child. And I understand too, that obviously, you know, parents may have more than one child. So I don't know that you don't necessarily need to repeat the parent information. If you put the parent information on line 1, then you can put, you know, the 3 kids information below that, and then start the next parent and then the kids, if that makes sense. So that you don't have to duplicate all of the parent information when they have more than one child. Okay.
Are there any questions about that spreadsheet before we go back to the PowerPoint? You can unmute yourself or you can put questions in the chat, either one. Okay.
I do have one question. The hybrid model, 5 consecutive days, does that include like a Saturday, Sunday, or just 5 consecutive school days?
It's consecutive school days.
Okay.
Thank you. That's a good clarification.
Oh, okay. What is your,
Any others? Okay. Okay, so we'll provide you that spreadsheet. It'll be exactly what you just saw. We do need the spreadsheet to be 100% complete without any missing information, because that is the information we need to issue benefits. If we don't have everything, then we won't be able to issue benefits. We're going to ask that you are uploading the spreadsheet with the information by September 18th, which is just a little over a week away. And then here, the fields highlighted in red are optional. And then just keep in mind that the number of days may vary per child, you know, depending on their situation. But we're looking at, I mean, it has to be at least a minimum of 5 days and then a maximum of 32 days based off of whenever school starts. Now, I'm going to try to explain this. This is a little bit difficult. So the 5 days, let's say on Monday, they went virtual. So then on Friday, they're still virtual. So that means now they're eligible for P-EBT. But we can go ahead and start giving them the P-EBT benefits that first day back on Monday. It wouldn't start, they don't have to, it goes backwards. They have to be out for at least 5 days, but then we can go back to when they started being out to give them the benefit. It's not like they go 5 days and then they start getting the benefit on the 6th day, if that makes sense.
So basically, whatever number the school puts in that column, you're going to add 5 days to. So if they enter 20, the family will receive benefits for 25?
No, we want the total number of days. So if they started, let's say they started on August 10th, they started going virtual. So then starting on the 14th, they're eligible for benefits. but we would go back to the 10th to give them those benefits. So you would count those first 5 days, but you wouldn't put them on your list until they have already hit those 5 days. So if a person only does it for a week, then they would just get those 5 days. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Me anyway.
Anybody else have any questions? I know it's hard to say.
And Melissa and I discussed, what should that maximum number be? And I know that we had some schools that started that first week in August. So we basically started with August 3rd and counted through the 15th of September. So that 32 is the maximum number. That's how we got that maximum number.
Right.
So it does go back to the start of school. So if you started school and you're in a hybrid situation and you had virtual students that opted out to learn through that virtual option because of health reasons or whatever, they can get the benefits from the very first day of school. Well, after the 5, from the very first day of school. That is confusing.
I know, it's just hard to say. Hard to say out loud, yeah. Okay, so what that means is that really we're relying on the schools to let us know the number of eligible children for P-EBT benefits, because the schools are the ones that have the information, and the situations better than we do. So the benefit period is from the start of school in August through September 15th. We cut it off on September 15th just because of the short time frame and because FNS will only approve situations that are currently happening. So we just cut it off on the 15th so that we would have time for you to gather the data, and then for us, once we get the data, to go ahead and get the benefits issued. So we are requesting that you can return the data back to NDE by September 18th. And just another reminder, if a child is not included on that spreadsheet that you submit, they will not receive benefits, because that will be the only indication that we have if a child is eligible or not.
We're going to talk about the uploading process here in a minute. I think some of you have had practice with it. It's fairly simple, but we'll go through that in just a minute. If there's any questions right now to the process or the data, or even questions about, the extension process, we're more than welcome to hear those now. We just did a wonderful bang-up job of explaining that.
Everyone understands. It's perfect.
Well, honestly, I don't have any questions. I don't think we're going to qualify because we were never, we're in a hybrid model that was just for 2 weeks, and it's never been 5 consecutive days, and we offered meals every day. Okay. So I don't even know who I would send. I don't know what names I would even send to you.
Yeah, it sounds like you probably, and I'm sorry, what school were you with?
Emerson Hubbard. And so maybe when I filled out that, I didn't fill it out correctly, because I guess I don't have questions, because I don't think I should send anybody any information.
Well, and we were just, a lot of the way the survey was really difficult with some of the responses we got when we asked to explain things. We got so many different explanations. And so we were just guessing that you may have a student that was eligible. And so that's the reason why you were invited. So, but we do appreciate you being here and listening and making that determination. And hopefully nothing happens within the next 2 weeks that, you're closed down.
Right. We are.
And so during that 2 weeks, you provided meals?
Yeah, we provided meals, and people, we didn't have very many, obviously, that wanted them. But yes, we provided meals for anybody who wasn't in attendance. And then starting Monday, we're going back to everybody here again. So, but I also hope that I don't have to close and that I don't have to worry about this, but we don't really know.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, ladies, for the information. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So this is the steps. I have put the instruction sheet, this handout, attached it as the invite in the calendar. I'll also distribute it to you along with the spreadsheet, so you have that. And if you do have students, you can start, collecting that information and completing the survey. Because the security around the confidentiality of those students' names, we had to have some way to, secure way to send that file to the Department of Ed. And so what we're going to do is utilize the CMP system where you submit your claims and your applications for the school lunch program. And we are going to have you put that in the school year 2021, because now we have moved to another school year. Some of you were involved in verifying student lists for the P-EBT from March. All that information is in a different program year. So we want to keep this within this program year because that's the year that we're in currently. So logging into the CMP system with your username and password, real familiar process. Click on the school nutrition button and you select program year 2021. And then click on applications across the blue menu bar and the application packet. And then from the action list, you click on details next to the form name of attachment list. Click on add attachment, and then browse your computer for the file. Once you've located that file, you can double click on it to add, put a comment section in there that it's P-EBT extension data, and then save and finish. And then just send me an email so that I know that the file's been uploaded and can retrieve it and send it on to Melissa for processing. I think that's a pretty straightforward process. Most of you have probably done that already, but just in case you needed those instructions, we wanted to give you some written instructions for that. Is there any questions? We did record, forgot to mention that at the beginning, we did record, or we are recording this, and we'll try to get it posted so that if you come back or have questions and you want to look at the PowerPoint again, you can. But you have Melissa and I's contact information. You can just send us an email and we'd be happy to help you with any questions that might come up later on as you're working through the data collection process. All right, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.